Well, good morning, everybody. Hello, welcome in Thursday here with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. So glad you are with us here today. And, well, it looks like Barry's back from T-Town, back in the lovely
Yep.
confines of his Troy studio today.
Yep. Day trip yesterday to Tuscaloosa. Fantastic ball game. Troy loses to Alabama 3-1. Troy had a 1-0 lead. Alabama's star shortstop Justin LeBron hit a 2-run homer in the fourth, I think, bottom of the third. And Alabama, whose pitching staff is really good, made it stand up. I got back last night. The team's still going. They're heading to South Carolina for a weekend series. Alabama baseball, well, Troy now is 11-2 this season. Alabama baseball is 14-0 right now. And they haven't, Troy's ranked number 17, I think, in the latest poll. I think Troy's the only ranked team Alabama has played. I mean, they played North Dakota State and Jacksonville State, and they played Ohio State. But there were a lot of Troy fans at the game last night. Not so many in the stands. It was a 4 o'clock start time. They had a storm the night before. They had some damage, so they moved the start time back to 4:30, which really hurt because, John, we could look over there to our right, past the right field fair pole at Sewell Thomas Stadium, and we could see people standing in line at Coleman Coliseum for a 6 o'clock tip-off against Florida, and I get it. Over in the booth next to me was our buddy Roger Hoover, who does baseball play-by-play for Alabama. Great young man, great broadcaster. And he was trying to figure everything out because, okay, we start at 4:30. Basketball starts at 6. He's on the basketball broadcast and da-da-da. Our game was a relatively quick one. So we got in the car after it was over with for the drive back, and we tuned into the Alabama broadcast. And Roger had just gotten there. It was about 7 minutes to go in the game. And when we tuned in late in the second half, 7 minutes and something, Florida was up 12. And Alabama made a bit of a run. And Florida, they blunted it, and Florida kept getting rebounds. And I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe it's some deep-seated bias or something like that because I went to school at Florida. But during those last little bits, God bless Chris Stewart, who I love like a brother. He was, hooping it up and everything. Alabama got it to 4. But I never really thought the lead was in jeopardy at that point at the end. Florida ends up winning it by 5. They score 99 against Alabama in regulation. And Crimson Tide, that was a difficult loss. Any of Robbie's hopes, the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, probably gone unless they just absolutely catch fire in the SEC tournament, which begins on Wednesday next week.
Yeah.
But all of the different things, John, that you and I have talked about that Alabama has struggled with, and they're having a fantastic season. The struggle hadn't been bad, but all of that stuff kind of reared its ugly head again last night.
I hate to be so...
Oh, boy.
Right, let's just go for the bullseye right out of the gate. But
give it to us straight.
As you watched the game last night, did you ever feel like Alabama was going to take command, take control, just take care of business? It certainly looked like a dogfight all night. You mentioned spurts there where Florida had double-digit leads. Did you ever think Alabama would have a double-digit lead? Did you ever think, okay, they're going to take care of business here, particularly after halftime? I mean, they actually had a lead right before half, and poof, it evaporated quickly. I was in the car listening to Chris at that time, and I think Alabama's up by 4. I parked the car. I'm getting out to here. Well, we're at halftime where the Gators are up 41-40. I went, wait a minute. Alabama was just leading by 4 30 seconds ago. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It seems like I've heard or seen a lot of that throughout the year. You mentioned the number of points that Florida scored last night, one shy of 100.
99.
You can't give up 99 points and expect to win.
At home, John. At home. Senior day, Mark Sears' last appearance. Some people are thinking, Good. But last night, senior day, it was a big crowd. I saw it on the outside. And they give up 99.
It would have been a bigger crowd, Barry, if they'd moved that media section somewhere else and let more fans sit there. But I'm not going to get off on that again. But it did catch my eye multiple times last night as I was watching it. But, there again, Bama fans might be surprised. Robbie might be surprised. I mean, I've been saying this since November. And I've said the same thing about Auburn. Not the same thing, but since November, this Auburn team's really good. They're really deep. Whoever comes off the bench, they don't miss a beat. They're solid. They play really well in all aspects of the game on both ends of the floor. I can't say that about Alabama and have not been able to say it all year long. Yeah, they had a couple of moments, couple of streaks where they looked pretty hot. Yeah, but these national analysts that have been falling all over themselves about number one seeds and, this Bama team's unbelievable. What am I missing? I just have not seen it all year. And, they might get on a run in the tournament. That's great. Hope they do. I'm pulling for them. But unless they clean it up and play better defense and don't miss as many shots around the rim and can rebound, every time I looked up, Florida's getting another rebound. I'm thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah, Alabama is usually pretty good on the glass, but Florida out-rebounded them by 15. They had 16 offensive rebounds. And again, I didn't watch it. I just listened to Chris and Brian. And, down at the end, when they did cut it to 4, free throw miss, and Florida would get the rebound. And Alabama would have to foul. A shot miss, Florida would rebound. I'm thinking, can they get a rebound? And Jerry Miller, who I'm writing with, he's saying, it's the rebounding that's killing them in this game. There are so many things about this that are injurious to the Tide. Number one, the matchup was not good. You're right. True. Florida's big guys just beat the smut out of Morey and the other big down low.
Well, we talked about it earlier in the week. I mean, I don't think Grant Nelson's having the year that he had last year.
Has he regressed?
I think so.
I think he has as well.
I love the stash. Don't get me wrong. I think the stash, he's one of those guys. You mean the guy with the mustache? Yeah, that's the guy I'm talking about.
If Alabama can get out and run, they've got a chance. And again, they scored 94 last night. It's not chopped liver, but Florida just got in their half-court game. And when you can keep Alabama from running like they want to in transition, and you can just play half court, and Florida had a 7-foot Australian named Alex Condon who had a double-double, 27 points and 10 rebounds. Alabama doesn't like that. If you get them in a half-court game, then you kind of expose a little. They missed Bediako more than I thought they would. But, I'm with way offsides, Jeff. The shooting comes and goes, but the defense getting gashed. That's been a problem, John. That's, sometimes the shots are falling, and Alabama didn't shoot it badly last night.
Well,
but man, it didn't matter because they were not able to stop Florida, who's a good basketball team. So what this means, Bama Greg, who's very frustrated, points out at least it was a crazy day yesterday in the SEC. Not only did Alabama lose at home, but he mentions Missouri loses at Oklahoma. That means Alabama does get a double bye in the SEC tournament. How quickly things have changed.
I think they can use that double bye.
But, John, wasn't it just like days ago that you and I were conjecturing with the fans about Alabama's chances to get a number one seed in the NCAA tournament? They're projected as a number one as of such and such and so by so-and-so and so-and-so. Now you're thinking, whew, double bye in the SEC tournament. At least we got that. Boy, have the standards fallen here.
And then the double bye, it
helps.
Yeah, whoopee, good deal. But, the SEC tournament, which I think is going to be really good with the teams that are there. The thing is, you got a double bye, you better win. You don't need to get that double bye and lose right out of the gate because, Barry, they're losing Saturday. And we said this Monday. Alabama is staring an 0-3 finish dead in the face, and they're 2/3 of the way there.
And
They're
losing
0-2.
5 of their last 7 down the stretch, which is
and I know it's reminiscent
bueno.
of last year. They kind of leaked Ole last year, won it out in the tournament, and then they went to the Final Four. Do you really think that's going to happen again this year? Could. Like I'm going Phillip. Could, but I don't see that happening. And there again, I'm no basketball guru. I don't know all the ins and outs, but the eye test has been telling me for months this is not a number 1 seed. And every time I heard it on TV from the Dickie V's and the Jay Billis and all those guys, I'm thinking, what am I missing here? What am I? Does this team look as good as Auburn and Duke and Houston? Some of the other teams you've been hearing about number 1s. I don't get it. I think the last couple of games have exposed it. It'll be exposed Saturday, and maybe the layoff and the double bye will get them right, and they can jumpstart and have a great finish.
I don't know.
Bama fans, that's the best I can do for you.
I'm reading Bama Greg, who I like very much. Bama basketball is done for now.
Ooh.
Waiting on the big dance to see how we do. He says that's what matters, and Auburn making an early exit. That's a big deal. Greg says Bama excuses in parentheses that Auburn uses, injured and young. I love that from Bama Greg because he's straightforward about it. He says, look, all I care about now is how we do in the big dance and that Auburn gets out early.
Yeah, look,
we've got excuses here at Alabama, but I want to point out, I'm going to give you these excuses, but it makes me feel a bit better because Auburn uses these same excuses. Yeah. So let me get that out there.
Folks, don't fool yourself because I'm already hearing it. Heard it last night. Don't want to hear it. But that's what Bama fans are hoping. We got to get these Aubs out. We need somebody to beat them in the tournament. We need Yale or somebody like that to have their moment in the sun because I cannot live through the next month with all this Auburn talk and all the Jim Nantz and the crew talking about Auburn and Chuck Barkley coming on and all that. They don't want to hear and see that.
No.
So they're all praying and hoping somebody's got to knock those Aubs out of the tournament. I cannot take this till early April. Well, you better buckle up.
Listen to and if they win the NCAA tournament, oh my gosh, I may just have to move, something like that. Here's what's interesting. Auburn and Alabama play in Auburn on Saturday. Auburn is 27-3. Alabama listing a little bit. They're 23-7. They've lost 5 games in the SEC now. Auburn has lost 2. So, it's going to be raucous. It's the Auburn-Alabama game. It's going to be at Neville Arena where it's really, really, tough. Anyway, the 11 o'clock game on Saturday is Kentucky and Missouri. Kentucky on again. They're 20-10. Number 19 Kentucky versus number 15 Missouri kicks off ESPN's full day of basketball coverage, 11 o'clock in the morning. They have moved the Auburn-Alabama game from 1 o'clock to 1:30.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what? You know why they're doing that? Because they don't want to run the risk of missing a single shot in the Auburn-Alabama game. I wish they had that same window open every Saturday instead of putting a game at 11 and at 1 o'clock and you don't join the 1 o'clock game until 8 minutes to go in the first half. They're doing their best to ensure that everybody gets to see every bit of that Auburn-Alabama game. So it's at 1:30 on Saturday instead of 1 o'clock. A small change, but it's telling.
Yes, and that kind of surprised me, Barry, because last night the little lady and I went out for dinner, went to Ash Wednesday services and went to dinner. We're sitting there watching the game, and I'm kind of enjoying my meal, and she's looking at the game, and she goes, hey, the Auburn-Alabama game's at 1:30 on Saturday. I said, no, it isn't. It's at 1. She pointed to the screen, and I looked at the screen. I went, wait a minute. It is at 1:30. I went, huh?
You actually openly disputed
I did.
The little woman?
I sure did.
Right across from?
Yeah. And I looked at you. I went, whoa, wow.
I thought I knew you.
I just dropped my head down and just kept
again.
Yeah.
How many times has he had to? How many times have I had to do that? Say, no, honey, I don't think you're right. And she'll say, well, here it is right here. And I'm like,
I got to say, Barry, a quick shout out.
What was my head?
The chicken piccata, outstanding at Chuck's. Had it last night. Unbelievable. I recommend it. I don't know what people are asking. Where is Senator Tommy Tuberville? Well, in D.C., things happen fast. So the senator is going to have to reschedule to next Thursday. He'll join us at this time on Thursday next week, which I believe is the 13th of March. So we certainly understand a lot going on in D.C. I know there's a lot of talk about the senator. Is he going to run for governor? Is he going to run for senator? I'd like to know what you think. Would you like Tommy Tuberville to be our governor or our senator? There's a lot of buzz about it. The stories at Yellowhammer News about it. Personally, I'd like for him to continue to be the senator, but I'm not him. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that next week. We'll see when he joins us here on the program.
Maybe he can push through a gambling referendum for the people to vote on if he's here.
Hey, Coach, you need somebody to head up the gaming commission? I'm your man. Here you go. Right here, Coach.
Him and John are buds. That could happen. Yeah.
Hey, bottom of this hour, Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover. At the top of the next hour, Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Heard Ryan Grubbs yesterday, the OC, get to talk to the media about the quarterbacks. We'll ask Rodney about that today. And our man Bart Heish, college basketball insider, going to join us at the bottom of hour number 2.
A lot of people are asking, hey, where's Tuberville? What's the plans for him? A lot of people asking, hey, what happened in Memphis last night at the FedEx Forum or whatever?
That later.
Yeah, coming up in just a little bit as well. Well, we are underway. It's our Thursday show. As John intimated, it is a busy day for us today, and therefore it's a busy day for you. Glad you're along with us here. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitchers' duels and slugfests? Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust. Okay, welcome back in, everybody. About 19 minutes past the hour on this Thursday. A lot of people have been asking about it. A lot of buzz about it. We love hearing that. Talked to our good friends at Yellowhammer News about it yesterday afternoon. Yes, the Tournament Bracket Challenge will be up at yellowhammernews.com. We'll kick that off on Monday. March the 17th. Of course, the brackets will be announced on Sunday the 16th. We'll have that up and going on Monday at yellowhammernews.com. You'll see the tab on the homepage, all the instructions, like we've done so many times before. And we're very excited about that. But, Barry, with the Tournament Bracket Challenge, you've only got a limited time to get in because the first game is on Thursday of that week. Unlike the bold prediction, where you got about a week or so, you got about 3 days here on the Tournament Bracket Challenge for the men's NCAA tournament. And, of course, very excited about that. Our good friends at the Montgomery Regional Airport, Phoenix Physical Therapy, River Region Straw, and the Destin Connection Seafood Market bringing you the Tournament Bracket Challenge. And it will be there at yellowhammernews.com. Very easy to go to that website where you can watch us right now.
Right.
And read about
many
us
of you
every
are.
afternoon. Yeah.
Well, some of the tournaments are underway. The Sun Belt Conference tournament has been going on since Tuesday. They'll crown a champion this coming Monday. The SEC tournament is, I think, the last tournament, one of the last tournaments to wrap up. It'll be next Sunday afternoon, a week from this Sunday. And after that, you have the tournament selection show. On Monday, we'll have our brackets up a week from this Monday. It's coming right upon us. We'll give you the first 4 games, the deal in Dayton, Ohio, until they change the NCAA tournament, and it looks like they're going to enlarge it a little bit. We'll give you those first 4, the first 4 teams, whatever they do. We'll give you that. And then the tournament itself gets underway on Thursday. So you've got really from Monday morning of March the 17th, until the start of the NCAA tournament proper, the Thursday games, to get them in. So start thinking about it.
That's
not when it happens. Start thinking about what you're going to do. Make
now.
sure you get it.
And, of course, Barry, the $1,000 travel voucher is the grand prize that you can zip around and zip off and fly out to anywhere you want to go in this great world of ours. So you got that going for you. So our good friends at MGM, the Destin Connection Seafood Market, River Region Straw, and Phoenix Physical Therapy, once again bringing you our men's tournament bracket challenge, which will kick off on the 17th of this month, which is a Monday.
Yeah, and it might happen for you. We always have so many entries. It's our first bracket contest challenge here on Longshore and McKnight, but we've done it for years and years. So many. You got to stay hopeful. Here's an example, John. Robbie from Greenville got up early this morning. Maybe he didn't sleep after the loss last night. Got up early this morning, and a couple of things. Robbie Alabama's lost what? 5 out of the last 7? 4 out of their last 6.
Yeah.
They will end the regular year losing 5 out of the last 7 if they don't win at Auburn. Robbie remains hopeful. If Alabama beats Auburn and goes deep in the SEC tournament, it can still be the last number 1 seed. The schedule down the stretch has been brutal. Who told you it was brutal, Robbie? Knock yourself out. The deal is, though, Robbie, wins and losses and everything. Look, Alabama, they may catch fire. I don't see it right now. The thing is the level of play. You got to play better. You need to play better than you're playing right now. All the other, they could do this. All that stuff is superficial. You can't, they're going to do what they're going to do. You control what you can control, John, you got to D up a little bit better. You got to rebound a little bit.
And Robbie, I can't tell you how happy we are that you're up early today to give us your thoughts about this. But, and hey, we know you're a loyal fan, but just not seeing it. The ifs and buts and candy and nuts, and not going to get it done. We need to see production on the floor, better defense, better rebounding, better three-point shooting. Not seeing
it. This is the only other thing, and Robbie's been starting to be chronic about this. Florida beats Alabama 99-94 yesterday. Florida has a 7-foot Australian guy named Alex Condon. Condon. He had a double-double, 27 points, 10 rebounds. Alex Condon, Condon. Robbie, it is not Alex Condom. I don't know what your spell check is normally. It's not Alex Condom. I mean, I mean,
and if that was his
can
name,
cover
Barry,
the post defensively, but
yeah,
his
and we
name is
needed to
still
cover him
C-O-
up last night. I can promise you that. We needed to cover him up.
Yeah,
He
not
sprung a
Alex
leak. Alex
Condon.
sprung a leak last
Robbie.
night,
Yes.
27-10. But shouldn't his last name also be capitalized? Even if it
Oh,
is
the
Condon?
capitalization. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but went lowercase on it. But no doubt that there again, Robbie, that's an example of defense. They did not defend this guy last night. And I could say something else, but I'm not.
Well, he imposed his will.
Yeah.
I mean, they could not stop him. They knew what he was going to do. They knew what he'd been doing. They knew what he was about to do, and they could not stop that guy. That is a fundamental flaw. They have got to figure that out.
They've seen Florida play in all year. They knew what they were getting into, now that they after last night, and that's just not good.
Now they tried being physical with Condon. They tried talking trash. Condon took a lot of ribbing.
Oh.
But and nothing seemed to slow him down.
I mean, he played large last night. There's no doubt about it.
Extra large.
He played large last night. So, Robbie, good eye there, if I do say so myself. And, that might go down. That'll be one we remember. Kind of like Big C in the bathtub. That's a good one, Robbie.
Yeah, we'll tell you that one later. Yeah.
Hey, Barry, what's up with Ole Miss storming the court last night?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Ole Miss ends up last night beating Tennessee in Oxford. Tennessee also another one that's kind of listing a little bit down the stretch, even though they hit the 7 points in 36 seconds to beat Alabama. They've been injured and stuff. Anyway, Ole Miss wins that game, 78-76. The Ole Miss administration, I think even Chris Beard, I hadn't seen the deal on that. At the very end, they were begging you. They were pleading with the Ole Miss fans, Ole Miss students, do not storm the court. Whatever you do, do not storm that court. We do not want to see any of you out there. When this game is concluded, do not storm the court because it's going to cost us, I don't know how many they've had before, $250,000. Ain't nobody paid a bit of attention to them for even one moment. I mean, some of you are parents. Some of you are still parents of toddlers. We have all of us who are parents have had toddlers where you've got that one kind of feisty toddler who mom will say, don't you take that cookie.
Don't
and
do
that
it.
Toddler's going, don't you do it. Don't you I'm telling you, don't. That kid will look her in the eye and grab that cookie, and mama's saying, don't you put that cookie in your mouth, and the kid's going, and you're gonna get it if you take one bite. And he takes a bite out of that. That was the Ole Miss student section. Don't you storm that court. You do not. You will never be allowed in here again if you storm that court. Soon as the game over with, boom, there they go.
What did they think was going to happen? I mean, but act like a big boy. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later this morning as well. A more big boy conversation. But come on, it's just Tennessee. I mean, what's the big deal?
Yeah, that's what John was thinking the other day when Texas A&M beats Auburn. It's their first ever win against the number one team. Texas A&M didn't even think about storming the court.
So what? We're good. Yeah, much more fan bases were like that. But how Ole Miss of them? That reminds me, Barry, when I was little, my sister's 7 years older than I am. And when I was probably like 5 or 6, no, probably 4 or 5. I'm in the back driveway with the garden hose on, holding it. My sister's there with me. My father drives up in the car, rolls the window down. It just washed the car. I'm holding the hose, and she looks at me and goes, squirt, Dad. Squirt him right now. And he looks at me and says, don't you do that. Don't you do that. And, of course, I went, psh. Water goes in the car, all over his car. He jumps out. He's chasing me around the front yard.
So little Johnny, in effect, he had older sister dressed in a devil outfit on one shoulder, go ahead and squirt, Dad. Go ahead and do it. On the other side, you had Dad that says, now, John, you know your dad doesn't want to get squirted. He's wearing the white with the angel wings and everything. You don't really want to do that. Do it. Yeah. There you go. Well,
I might have been younger than that because my little legs were, so small. I couldn't hardly run. Yeah.
You probably knew better than that when you got older. Coming back, we'll talk with Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com. He's next in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, back at it here, about 29 minutes to the top of the hour, as we do each and every Thursday. Our friend Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, joining us here. Hey, Jason, good morning. Hope you're doing well.
I'm good, guys. How about y'all?
Doing really well. I can imagine you are incredibly busy right now. Breakdown of Auburn's 11-point loss at Texas A&M Tuesday night. What were the factors?
Yeah, I think one of it is the perfect storm. I think it's a really difficult matchup for Auburn. Matchups are important, no matter what sport it is. But I think you look at basketball, and that's a physical, aggressive, rebounding team, much like Florida, and that's one of the losses that Auburn had. And then Texas A&M was the same thing. So I think part of it is it's a bad matchup, and then to me the hangover from winning and Alabama losing. I think just winning it probably didn't have as much of an impact until Alabama lost, and then it was outright. I think once that happened, you probably relax and take a deep breath. And then maybe the other part of it too was there was the Saturday, Tuesday turnaround from road game in Lexington to road game in College Station. So it kind of reminds me of the Sunday, Thursday NFL, where you go, man, that Thursday game is tough. Yeah, Texas A&M was on the road, but on to Florida on Saturday, but they were at home on Tuesday night. So I think probably all those things factored into it being kind of a perfect storm situation, and playing a team that senior night was fired up and knew that was probably a big game for them in terms of seeding purposes. So I think everything thrown into one, and you got beat by a team that you looked at it and there was one of those teams that was playing with their hair on fire and the other one wasn't.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing, Jason. I mean, you got a long road trip on Saturday. You win the regular season championship. You're excited about that. Then you got to quickly go take another long road trip. It ain't like they're going to Starkville. I mean, going to College Station, pretty long haul on a short week. So, yeah, I'm with you. Everything lined up in A&M's favor on Tuesday. And just caught Auburn at a good time.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think that was as much of anything that was probably part of it. Like I said, I think another thing, Bruce Pearl talked about it before they left. And I read this quote again yesterday. He said, look, they turn you over and they get a bunch of offensive rebounds. And those are things that are difficult matchups for us. And it showed up. I think, not having Denver Jones, Todd Pettiford played wonderful. But I think, you take Denver Jones out of the equation. It just shortens your bench a little bit on the perimeter. And A&M didn't shoot it particularly well. The biggest issue was they got 15 more shots. And we saw the same thing with Alabama and Florida last night. When you give teams 15 more shots, you're probably going to lose. And so especially when it's on the road. And I think that's what we saw with Auburn the other night.
Well, and the same thing with Alabama last night. You get 15 more shots, and the main reason why is you rebound off the offensive glass over and over and over again. I got to tell you this, the face of the program obviously is Janai Broome, and people nationally think of Auburn. He's the first one they think of. I honestly didn't really consider it, didn't really realize it until the Texas A&M game, just how important Denver Jones is to this team, Jason.
Yeah, I think senior, steady, really good defender, physical. Those are the things I think you look at. And would you consider him John Stockton? No, he's not one of those guys going to have 16 assists in a game.
Right.
But he does all the right things. He doesn't turn it over a bunch. And so, yeah, I think you look at it and he's an important part of what they want to do on both ends. And normally, you think about point guards that do those things. You think about Tennessee, and it's a guy that has a bunch of steals, do those things. But being steady and being able to make shots, I mean, we've seen Denver Jones shoot it well. That's an important part of being that guy. And I think that was as much as anything they missed on Tuesday night as well.
The double bye coming up in the SEC tournament. I guess it's good. I mean, it gives you time to catch your breath and heal up a little bit. I mean, you're kind of away from the floor for a longer period of time than others. But what do you hear? What are coaches' thoughts about having that much downtime before a conference tournament?
And there's no rhyme or reason how it works. I mean, you look and how it works the next week too, because you look and you go, yeah, you want to stay hot and you want to stay playing, do all those stuff. And Auburn did that in 2019 and stayed hot, won an SEC tournament, and made it to a Final Four. Last year, Auburn gets hot, wins the SEC tournament. You go, man, they're on a roll again. They lose the first round to Yale. Alabama loses on Friday to Florida, the only game they play in Nashville, and they make it to the Final Four. There's no rhyme or reason. There's nothing to it. Do you want to go play well? Yes. Honestly, do you want to expend 3 days worth to go up there and the grind of this season? You're not going to not win it. But I'm not certain it's a huge deal for the teams, especially for, I think now probably Auburn and Florida. I think those two teams have probably wrapped up 1 seeds.
Okay.
But I mean, Alabama beats Auburn Saturday and wins a few, and Auburn and Florida were to lose. I don't think they would, but you never know. But it sure feels like that things have started to settle in a little bit. And I mean, it took a long time for a lot of this stuff to shake itself out.
Well, yeah, and that's what the season tends to do. Usually, a lot of our people, and I never have gotten into this. Auburn and Alabama fans and all that are really centered in and focused in on, man, got to get the number 1 seed, got to get the number 1 seed. To me, the focus is playing well, is playing to that standard, whatever seed that you are. I am concerned because I think Auburn got rebounded by 14 against Kentucky. They get out rebounded significantly against Texas A&M. That's not an exposure of a problem, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a problem. I think you've played 2 teams that rebounded pretty good.
Yes.
But I mean, let's face it. Look, this Janai Broome and Dylan Caldwell and these guys are really good, but they're not Dennis Rodman, Charles Barkley guys that go attack rebounds. That's just not who they are. And now they'll get some offensive rebounds and they'll get some, but it's the difference when you're playing. You look at Texas A&M especially. That's about 4 Dennis Rodmans. Their entire offense almost is, hey, we're going to go get an offensive rebound, and then we're going to run offense off the offensive rebound. So that makes it difficult. Florida's a little different because they have so much length that they just keep bringing in 6'10", 6'11", 7-foot guys that are athletic, and so it wears on you a little bit. But it's a little bit for me. It's the thing I've talked about. I think it's the one Achilles heel for me, if you find one for this team, is how do you handle teams like that? There's not a ton of them, but if you were to match up, and you're probably not going to see one really early, because normally if you can rebound those that well, you're probably going to be a pretty good basketball team. You're probably not going to be in an 8-9 game, but a UConn, somebody like that in an 8-9 game, that's a difficult matchup if you were to find somebody like that in the second round because of the way they play, their physical rebound. A St. John's maybe in a third round in a Sweet 16 type game. Difficult scenario if they're a top 4 seed. So there's some of those but everybody's going to have matchup issues. Just a matter of what you find and can you avoid those. Like we see it, that's part of the key. Sometimes you're just playing well, it doesn't matter. 2019, it didn't matter who Auburn played. They were going to win because they were playing that well. Alabama was kind of the same thing last year, but I think they also got into some really good matchups for them until they got to UConn in the Final Four. So some of that, you just control. Some of it you can't.
You know, another aspect, Jason, is where Auburn is projected to be playing is the number 1 overall seed. They'll start out in Lexington, win there. They head to Atlanta. So that's certainly
the most
beneficial.
important thing. That's the most important thing. Yeah, whether you're the overall number 1, to me, that has no consequence. Where you play is the most important thing, and then who you play. So if you're in Lexington and Atlanta, John, I think those are the 2 most important parts of this, of being a number 1 seed, is to be able to play in those spots. I think that's the biggest part.
Jason, for our Auburn viewers out there, how does Alabama have a chance on Saturday afternoon? What can Alabama do? Is there anything they can exploit to give themselves a chance at Neville Arena Saturday?
Yeah, Alabama can offensive rebound too. They do a good job of that. Offensive rebound and knocking down threes. You do that, you got a chance to beat anybody. And I mean, that's a recipe that Alabama uses. That's who they are. And if they come in and they knock down, we saw it with Florida. Florida didn't, honestly, last night didn't shoot it as well as they did in Neville a few weeks ago, but they still won because they were able to knock down some shots when they needed to. That's the key. If Alabama comes in and if they come in and they make 9 threes in the first half, you're going to be in trouble. I mean, it don't matter where you're playing. It don't matter who those kind of things happen. Then, and this is a team that can do that. I think Denver Jones being healthy is a big deal because Alabama has a lot of guards, and those guys can all play. Obviously, Mark Sears is a difficult matchup for anybody, but if you take Denver Jones out of the equation, then it becomes really, really hard to keep him from scoring. So for Auburn, can you do that? And we see Auburn's 3 big guys have to play well because this is a game where they can exploit that against Alabama. Alabama's really good at guards. They're better inside, but Auburn still has an advantage there. But the last 2 games, they just haven't played very well. And so can you get Janai Broome, Dylan Cardwell, Chaney Johnson back going? That would be a big deal on Saturday.
Barry, my thought when I heard you ask that question was Alabama needs Auburn's bus to break down, but they're playing at home, so they could walk to the arena if they had to. So I don't feel as confidently based on the way Alabama's been playing over the last 2 weeks. But I guess if they can knock down some threes and get some rebounds and play some defense, something they didn't do real well last night against Florida, I don't know. Maybe they can change things around before Saturday. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's a matchup too. I think that Florida is not a great matchup for Alabama because of the way they play. And I think that showed up a little bit too. Again, for Auburn, I think you have now an advantage on the interior. Can you take advantage of that enough on Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
Jason, I hate to ask this question because there's greater implications, but will there be any consideration for Hugh Freeze taking it easy or missing some time this spring?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. I think they feel like everything caught everything early enough, and Auburn's still almost 30 weeks away from the start of spring practice. So I think as long as everything goes as expected, I heard that he doesn't plan on missing any of the spring, and so I've heard that obviously this is going to be a quick 3-week period, and there's a ton going on. A lot of recruiting visits, a lot of official visits happening, even starting this weekend with a reclassified 2026 DB that's now in the 2025 class that's visiting folks. So a lot going on, but as far as everything we've heard and been told, that Hugh Freeze plans to continue to go on and business as usual, and hopefully everything was detected early enough that they'll be able to get through this pretty quickly.
I want to ask you about this guy. I want to ask you about a couple of things in terms of of visits. Now there's the dead period's over, correct?
Correct.
So can we can't read anything into now that the dead period's over. These are the first guys in. Therefore, these are the most important targets.
No, I think now it's just a matter of timing for guys. Some guys still playing basketball, maybe in other states, and then you look at setting up visits, and now there's a schedule for guys taking official visits. So there's been some guys on campus for unofficial visits. I think you can look into a little bit some of that. Like a guy like Parker Pritchett was on campus, offensive lineman from Carver in Columbus, Georgia. That one to me has a little bit more meaning just because that's one of the guys that Auburn really likes. Got a connection to Auburn. His brother played at Auburn High School before going to North Carolina. And so that one a little bit more. And then Hezekiah Harris is on campus for a couple of days. He's already committed to Auburn. I look at a couple of those, but I think as far as the official visits go, I think you just try to get your name penciled in the schedule for somebody. And, okay, here's my time frame. Okay, well, we'll do it. So I talked to somebody recently, and I said, I think in terms of this calendar and recruiting, people better continue to get used to the fact that, it used to be, well, you look in January, and that's when recruiting happened.
Right.
And then you moved it up to, let's look at November, December when recruiting happens. Now, I think 60, maybe even 70% of the guys that Auburn, Alabama are recruiting are going to be committed by the 4th of July.
Oh, wow.
I think these visits are all happening so quick that the guys are going to make decisions.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a changing landscape out there, no doubt.
Yeah, it is. And it's so crazy. I think schools are trying to figure out how to handle it because it doesn't. There used to be you'd have a bunch of unofficial visits in for a spring game, and in your first official visits, you might take 4 or 5 of them during the season. And now there might be 4 or 5 during the season because all of them have already happened. There may be 50 to 60 official visits between now and the middle of June on the Auburn campus. That's how many of these things may happen here in the next 3 to 4 months.
Logistically, for all the people, for all the recruiting directors and general managers and stuff, logistically, that just boggles my mind.
It does, because you do all that, you get guys committed, and you still have to recruit them every single day until December. So all it does is it puts you first on the board, and now we'll see about NIL and revenue sharing and how that works and all these things. But yeah, it is a very, very different process.
It is. Well, we're glad we've got you and all of your staff at auburnundercover.com to keep us apprised of all of this and give us exactly what all of this means. How do people get involved with that, Jason?
Yeah, like I said, you can check us out at auburnundercover.com, part of the 24/7 network, and got tons going on. I'm kind of continuing a series with DJ Durkin. I sat down with Auburn's defensive coordinator, and so have a new one today, have another one tomorrow from him. Nathan King with a really good story, talking to coaches and players from that 1999 SEC championship team and getting them to talk about this year's Auburn team and kind of what they've seen from them. And so it's a really good read. People need to check that out as well. But lots of recruiting going on, baseball, softball, never ending as you get ready to ramp this thing up for postseason basketball. So come check us out.
Also on social media, on X at ITAT Jason. Always great to talk with you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, joining us here as he does each and every Thursday. Really appreciate his insight. When we return, Barry, we will continue our series of win totals for 2025. Our team today is the Arkansas Razorbacks. We profiled Alabama yesterday, going in alphabetical order through the 16 teams. We'll do that when we return. Also, Range Pro has given us his dark horse winner for the PGA Tour this week. It's the Bay Hill Classic. This is Arnold Palmer's tournament. Ludwig Aberg. I'm not sure I know much about Ludwig.
Yeah,
I have to follow this guy today.
Hey, I think Range Pro comes up with these guys. Ludwig Aberg.
Oh, well, let me stop you there. He ain't coming up with them. He's researched them, if you get my drift.
Oh, yeah. I get it.
He's got a little coin on Ludwig.
Yeah, Oberg is some of these people say, wow, he must have really dug deep for that one. Somebody
he
was
did a little
digging deep.
research.
That's exactly right. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, Marianne from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry joining us here this morning. And Marianne, you can kind of feel it. Spring is in the air. We're in the month of March. And of course, we got to talk about that March birthstone, because anybody that has it, Marguerite's can take care of you.
Most definitely. Well, we are in March. It's hard to believe. And March's birthstone is aquamarine. And it is beautiful. It's honestly one of my favorite gemstones there are. It's kind of like the little black dress of gemstones. It's a soft, like light blue, goes with everything. And it's really one of the most popular. So if you have a March birthday, or if you know someone that does, the birthstone is always a great way to go. It shows that you think about them, that you remember when their birthday actually is, and that you put a little thought into it. And we've got tons of pieces, bracelets, lots of beautiful rings. We've made up several pair of earrings, like studs with little diamond halos around them. You name it, we can make it. And we are in the works of doing a few stackable bands for moms that are expecting new March babies. So I'm sure they will go over really well, and they'll be super great gifts.
It's a fabulous gift idea. Aquamarine is the March birthstone, and Marguerite's can take care of it for you, for the loved one that has that March birthday. So I know you're located at 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree and open 7 days a week, correct?
7 days a week, 10 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday. So there's no excuse. You can always stop in at Marguerite's. We're always open.
They certainly are a full-service jeweler. I cannot stress that enough. Whether it's new jewelry items or repairs or engraving, monogramming, or you want to make something old new again, they can do it at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. They're in Pepper Tree, adjacent to Chappie's Deli on Vaughn Road. Thank you so much, Marianne. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
Okay, great stuff out of, Marguerite's. You know, I tell you, man, she tripped me up there. I was not ready for the birthstone. I did not do my research to figher out what the birthstone for March was. She helped me out. Help me out on that one.
She said so, and it was I had known. I had done some research on it. I was ready for it. But when you asked the question, I forgot myself. Oh, aquamarine. I got it. Yeah, go by, check out our friends at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. Now, as we go through our daily preview of SEC schedules, we are accessing betonline.com. Somebody had a question about it. They're updated as of first of the month, preseason SEC win totals. We're going alphabetically.
Correct.
There are 3 in the SEC who have the highest at 9.5. We'll go over those later. Arkansas, just as a point of comparison, their win total projected 5.5.
5.5.
If they are, if they don't reach that, or if they just barely clear that, it's my belief that Arkansas will be in the market for a new head football coach come December.
Yes, I would agree with you there.
They win 6 or below. That's probably going to happen.
I'm kind of surprised Sam Pittman's back for another year. I thought last year would have been his last season, but he is back. And some of these numbers are going to change between now and kickoff in late August, but this is what we've got as of right now. That's why they call them futures. So at 5.5, let's look at the Arkansas Razorbacks. Let's look at their schedule and see what we have when it comes to Arkansas in 2025.
Well, I can go ahead and tell you, this is one of the more bipolar schedules in John's eyes in the SEC, because number one, on September 20th, they play at Memphis.
You don't do that.
Why in the world does an SEC team play at Memphis? But
even though Alabama and Bill Curry got beat by Memphis.
And when Don Lindsay went into the stands or something?
That was against Ole Miss.
Anyway, so they got Memphis at Memphis this year. Immediately, John crumples up their schedule and throws it away. But The very next week, they will host Notre Dame in Fayetteville and totally redeem themselves.
Now, I'm not going to go into this. What SEC school has never played Notre Dame? Because it's a very small group that has never played them. So I'm not getting into that right now because we're talking about Arkansas. But looking at their schedule, Barry, and it's interesting, they play 4 straight before they do host Notre Dame in the last weekend of September. Then they have an open date. But based on who they've got coming out, I could see Arkansas coming out hot 2-0 before they go to Ole Miss in week 3.
Well, here's what I see. They open up with Alabama A&M in Fayetteville on August the 30th. The Bulldogs come in. They play Arkansas State the next week in Little Rock. Those are the only 2 FBS programs in the state of Arkansas. Butch Jones is the head coach of the Red Wolves. They're going to be pretty good. Ooh, if they don't win that one. If Arkansas State beats Arkansas, I will tell you that Sam Pittman will not be the coach the next week when the Razorbacks open SEC play at Ole Miss.
Oh, wait, you're calling for a dismissal going into week 3 if they lose to the in-state rival in the capital city of Little Rock? Wow.
Arkansas State, they're going to be good this year. They were pretty good last year. If Arkansas loses to Arkansas State, it would be like your older brother, who's like 9 years older than you are, losing to you in horse out in the front yard. That will sting for a long time. I'm not saying it's deserved. I love Sam Pittman, but I'm saying that's what the fans will demand.
You want to know why Alabama and Auburn don't want to play Troy? Just ask Sam Pittman after week 2 if they lose that one.
Well, also, speaking of that, this schedule doesn't include Alabama. Not that that's a big deal. Doesn't include Georgia this year.
Wow.
You might think that some Arkansas fans are going to be kind of giddy about it. So they have Ole Miss on the road September 13th. They're at Memphis on September. They host Notre Dame on September 27th.
How did they get that game? How does Arkansas get a game against Notre Dame, a home and away, and, well, some other team in this league can't?
You promised that you weren't going to bring that up.
Oh, sorry.
You actually said that 2 minutes ago that you weren't going to bring. It lasted 2 minutes. Okay.
Can't help myself.
Then an off week, October 4th, before they go to Tennessee. So you've got, after the Memphis game, you've got 3 straight games against ranked teams. 2 of them at home. They have Notre Dame at home, then off week, then at Tennessee, and then home against number 22, Texas A&M, before they host the Auburn Tigers. October 25th, Fayetteville, Arkansas, against Auburn. They are more than a little
swing game.
Yeah. More than a little bit of angst involved there. November 1st, Mississippi State in Fayetteville. They're off on November 8th. Then mid-November at number 8 LSU, at number 2 Texas. Back to back.
Yeah, then they close it out hosting Missouri. Barry, Sam Pittman might not make it past that second open week. That might be when he gets November the 8th. Pink slip because the next 3 or 2 of the next 3 definitely are losses at LSU, at Texas. Missouri, there again, could go Arkansas's way. Don't feel great about it. But looking at it right now, I'm just looking at the games I think Arkansas can win. Alabama A&M, you would think they could win. You'd hope they could beat Arkansas State. If they don't, it's going to be even worse. Memphis was pretty good in a couple of years ago. They're at 5.5, Barry. I'm looking at about 5. I mean, I'm looking at a 5-7 type team. I think there's a lot of gaps in this roster. I think they've had a hard time filling some of these gaps, similar to Kentucky, who we'll get to later on. But based on Notre Dame, LSU, Texas, Tennessee, those right there are losses. Auburn could certainly be a loss as well. I'm still trying to get a better feel about them. So to me, I'm going under 5.5 with Arkansas.
Do any of you people, viewers or listeners, own your own business or your own practice or something like that? You are the only ones anymore who still get the schedule poster, the poster with the graphic. Maybe it's got your team captain standing there looking menacing with his helmet under his arm, glaring at the camera with some graphics behind it of the stadium or something like that. And they post the schedule in big stylized fonts and everything, be a part of it. Arkansas Razorback football. Does anybody even have those anymore? Does anybody even post those in their room or their office or anything? The posters, I love a poster. Now I'll put my Farrah Fawcett poster. I got a lot of use out of that, but I respect the Arkansas and the Mississippi States and the South Carolinas and the Kentuckys and the Vanderbilts of the world, because Arkansas's poster, God bless them, they insist, like the rest of them, on putting on their schedule at the bottom of the poster, at the bottom of the schedule, Saturday, December 6th, SEC Championship, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta, Georgia, 3 o'clock Central on ABC. God bless them for still continuing to do that, because there ain't no way on God's green earth that they're playing in that game.
I think that's
it there.
I think it's an SEC mandate. We want every one of our teams to promote our championship game. I bet Vanderbilt does it. Whether you're going to be in it or not, we want you to promote our game. I got
Arkansas under 5.5.
All right. So yesterday I had Alabama going over 8.5. Today I've got Arkansas going under 5.5. Are you in agreement with that? Because I'm writing this down so we can keep a record of it.
I'm not agreeing with the Alabama one.
You're going under.
Yeah, they're going under.
Barry says Bama's going under 8.5. Okay.
Yeah, just barely. Yeah, but Arkansas.
In this business, there is no barely.
Yeah, it either is or there isn't.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I definitely have Arkansas going under. And if I'm a Hog fan, I'm scared to death of Arkansas State right before the Memphis game. So there you go.
All right, let's take a quick break. The Tighter Insider, Rodney Orr, brought to you exclusively by our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, the freshest seafood arriving daily at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road. You can call ahead 288-4272, and your order will be ready for pickup.
I think Range Pro's pick is going to be on the chalkboard up there for those people who want to come and take a look at it. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Okay, back at it about 4 minutes past the top of the hour. Our man Rodney Orr, the Tighter Insider, joining us here today, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Hey, Rodney, how you doing this morning?
I am doing great, John and Barry. How are you guys?
Doing really well. I was in Tuscaloosa on campus yesterday. Troy baseball loses in a fabulous game at Alabama, and I could see right across the way. The baseball game started at 4:30. Alabama basketball played at home against Florida at 6 o'clock. I could see a lot of excitement there in that one. Tough loss for Alabama basketball, Rodney. Do you read anything into that?
Well, they've lost 4 of the last 6 now. It's obviously they're not playing well, but they're playing really, obviously top caliber teams. We talked about this stretch here over the last couple of weeks. You and I and John talked about, the stretch coming up was going to be tough. And it has been. It's proven to be really tough. I mean, obviously, you go to Auburn now to finish out the regular season, and, you could end up losing 5 of your last 7. And don't forget last year, too, just a little bit of encouragement here. They had the tailspin at the end. They lost in the first round to Florida in the SEC tournament, right? And then you saw what happened. They got in the NCAA and made a great run. So, I mean, this team's certainly still, very, very capable. Obviously, they got physical last night. They got beat on the boards.
Yeah.
They got out-rebounded by 15. And I know a lot of people talk about how this team has kind of been pushed around a little bit. But at the same time, that's really only the second time, I think, this year in SEC play, Alabama's been out-rebounded. So, again, we know that they've got great talent, great players. Oates does a fantastic job generally getting his players, up off the mat. This is one of those times when he's going to have to do it.
Yeah, I'd say so. And, the loss Saturday in Knoxville, extremely difficult. And I'm like you, Rodney, when I saw that and I saw what was coming up with Florida and Auburn, I thought, this could be a tough finish to the regular season. This could be an offer if they don't watch out. But going to Auburn to Neville Arena, it's going to be tough. So if they do drop it Saturday, they do get the double bye in the SEC tournament, Nashville.
Right.
Maybe Coach Oates can get this team kind of, a little bit more recharged and ready to go for postseason.
Well, I think with Missouri losing last night to Oklahoma, that pretty much locks Alabama in, a 3 or 4 seed.
Correct. Yeah, they get a double bye.
That gets you the double bye. So that's big. I mean, in spite of the fact that you've struggled here at the end, and again against elite competition for sure, but you have to be able to win some of those games. But still, they've got an opportunity here with that double bye that puts them in a position in the SEC tournament that you want to be in.
A lot of conversation, a lot of coverage of basketball at TigerInsider.com, a lot of conversation on the forums as well. But the Alabama football team is well underway now in spring practice. Feels like an early start in comparison with a lot of the other schools in the SEC. I think yesterday, Ryan Grubb, the new offense coordinator, had a chance to talk with the media. Do you foresee any major drastic fundamental changes in the way the offense is going to look under him?
I think that basically the offense is Kalen DeBoer's offense. And now, with that said, let's keep in mind the personnel last year, that you had a quarterback that really wasn't a fit for what they do. I mean, he's not Michael Penix. He's a different style quarterback. They want guys that can throw the football, distribute it. Not that Milroe can't throw it, but he's a more dual threat type guy. But you want guys like a Ty Simpson or Austin Mack or Keelan Russell that kind of fit more closely to that mold to be able to distribute the ball. Now, I will tell you this: we've talked about this on this show right here. I really think that the wide receiver core has a chance to take a major step this year. And I noticed yesterday when Grubb was asked about the wide receiver core, the first thing he said was, "Man, this is a talented group. We're very excited." That's a big thing. it seems to me, listening to DeBoer, but also listening to Grubb yesterday, I sense they have confidence in these quarterbacks, even though they have very, very little game experience. Even Ty Simpson, I get a sense that they have some confidence in these guys. You listen to what Grubb said about Ty yesterday. Some of his comments, I thought they were encouraging, and again about Mac and Keelan Russell as well. But so you know what? One thing for sure. You better hope one of those quarterbacks pans out, because there's a tough schedule. You open at Florida State, and a few weeks later you go to Georgia. So it's going to be rough.
Rodney, I thought Grubb's post press conference yesterday was very interesting as well, particularly when he started talking about quarterbacks, mentioned that, Ty Simpson, really had a big jump from day one to day two, and talked about Austin Mack. But when he got to Keelan Russell, I'm thinking, just me sensing it and listening to it, maybe reading between the lines, I kind of picked up on maybe a little extra excitement about that young man. Granted, he's a freshman, and it's hard for a freshman to step right in and start, but I think they're real happy with what they've got in that young man.
I agree with you, John. Now, with that said, I want to step back for a moment and think about the portal. And think about when you bring in a 5-star kid of that magnitude. Sometimes I think now we're going to hear coaches kind of say a lot of promising things about kids, because you want to protect them. Because look, let's just say hypothetically, and I don't know how the quarterback situation is going to unfold, but let's say hypothetically that a player of his magnitude has to sit for a year because he's not ready to play in the SEC. You certainly want to, make sure that you've encouraged him. And I think that also includes sending messages in the media about how you feel of his potential. So I'm not saying that's what Ryan Grubb did, but I could see why you would do that.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, you want him sticking through spring, through summer. I believe I heard this correctly, that when Michael Penix was the starter at Washington, he was not announced the starter till like the week of the game, the first game, because maybe
true.
They didn't want him. They didn't want him bolting as well. No doubt. I mean, in this day and age, I think you got to play that hand. You don't want to be going, Ty's our guy.
Yeah.
If you
I think you have to be really careful.
I
think you have to be careful. And I thought he did. I will say this about Grubb too. He said more in 10 minutes than, and look, this is not a comparison, but Nick Sheridan was so close to the vest last year. And there may have been a lot of reasons for that. But he said more in 10 minutes than I think what we heard last year. And that would probably include from DeBoer as well. And again, I understand in that first year, they were probably very conscientious about, what they said, but he was to me, he was very interesting, Grubb yesterday. It seemed confident and, upbeat.
I know a lot of the guys are out for the spring. I'm not sure about Proctor, but I know obviously Keon Sabb is out, Damani Jackson, guys like that. Are there, is it thin, would you say? I mean, are there positions that are, hard to get guys work because there's just not many of them healthy at all?
Well, I think what it is, like, for example, on the offensive line, you mentioned Proctor.
Yeah.
I mean, it just gives some of the other guys a lot more opportunities to work with maybe the first team. Arkel Anguam, the transfer from Ball State, for example, at left tackle. Jackson Lloyd, remember that name, from Carmel, California, the true freshman. We've been pumping him pretty hard. That's another guy that's going to get opportunities. Michael Carroll, obviously, is a true freshman battling for maybe position at left guard. And he's versatile. And I think too, on the offensive line, while we're talking about it, John and Barry, spring is a time for, I don't want to say necessarily experimenting, but getting guys cross-trained, preparing them to play other positions on the offensive line so that in the event they're needed at those positions, it's not new to them later on. So that's a key. But, I think Defensively, same thing. I mean, you look at inside linebacker, you got Deontay Lawson is out. Justin Jefferson is very limited. So that gives a lot of opportunity to Nakai Hill-Green, the transfer from Colorado, Caden Jones, this rising sophomore who a lot of people have chattered about. And then also the 3 true freshmen, Luke Metz, Duke Johnson, and Abdul Sanders. Those 3 guys going to have a lot of opportunities. And then again, you've got, corner Damani. You mentioned him being out. That gives you guys like the transfer from Utah, Cam Calhoun, gives Dejon Lee an opportunity, the true freshman. You don't find many 6'4", 200-pound corners. They are raving about Dejon Lee. So just real quick, Dejon Lee, he's a guy to keep him. I mentioned Jackson Lloyd. Ivan Taylor at safety is a true freshman. Remember that name. He's a guy that eventually I think can be really, really good. And Derek Meadows at wide receiver would be another one.
Is Dejon Lee's nickname Mustard?
John, I actually literally had to think about that for about a half a
second.
Yeah,
that's like most of John's humor.
That guy's nickname has got to be Mustard. If it isn't, we're going to nickname him Mustard
John,
today.
They say he brings the mustard.
He brings the mustard.
He brings the spice. Yeah,
yes, he does. I like that.
I like it.
Hey, remember where you heard that one first.
Will there be, in your estimation, a real shot for Keelan Russell? We keep hearing about him all the time.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I think it really depends on just how does everyone perform. I honestly spoke to I didn't directly speak to them yesterday, but through text message,
right?
With a head coach, not at Alabama, obviously, but at another school, and he said, "Listen, it's not about what they do against air." He said, "If you're playing on this level, you should throw great passes against air. What it really comes down to is real football. How are you going to respond 11 on 11? You can find that in scrimmages, and when you go 11 on 11, you can kind of see how guys respond to that. But ultimately, you really don't know, even if you succeed in scrimmages and practices 11 on 11, how they're going to respond when the spotlight's really on, the pressure is really on. So it's tough to say right now. I mean, I think Ty is definitely, like I said, they seem to have a lot of confidence in his potential. I love Ty's skills, talents, and all of those things, but ultimately we really don't know until he's in the pressure cooker.
Yeah. I'm with you. I used to beg and plead to my coaches. I'm not a practice player, coach. I'm a gamer. You got to put me in the game. They never bought it, Rodney.
Never did.
Never bought
never
it.
Did.
Nope. Never happened. Well, it's going to be an interesting spring. You can kind of feel a different vibe from last year. We've talked a lot about this, Rodney. I mean, you got, DeBoer coming in from the West Coast, whole new game plan, whole new faces, whole new team. But you get a sense that this is a little different, maybe not even a little different. I think it's a lot different from where it was last year. And I think that'll kind of translate or transform into a different feel this fall as well.
Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned this last week or have said this, John, but just think about back to last year this time. What a scramble it was. I mean, Kalen DeBoer was coming into a pressure cooker, trying to hold on to a roster with the portal open, trying to save his recruits, get Ryan Williams back in the fold, hire a coaching staff. And then all of a sudden, guess what? He thinks he's got everybody in place. And the Seattle Seahawks come and take Grubb and Huff, the offensive line coach. And then all of a sudden you're looking for more guys. You're going in. You don't even really know your personnel extremely well. I mean, how could you?
Right.
And then you get into that and spring practice and, you really probably don't have the exact personnel you'd like for your system. So a lot of things going on. It's a tough year. I'm not making excuses for DeBoer at all, but I will say this. I'll give him a pass for sure on that first year. And I do think the vibe's different a little bit, John. Now, again, will the results be different? That remains to be seen. You can't go out and kind of flop against Vanderbilt against Oklahoma, against Michigan. Look, I know Tennessee was a high-quality opponent. You probably should have won that game. So I think there's a lot that I feel like they can iron, that they probably should be able to iron out now. Some of the difficulties that they had.
I said this yesterday, Rodney. I do not expect to see games like Vanderbilt and Oklahoma this fall, but if we do,
it's a sign.
That's trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a sign if you. And again, I'm be clear. I certainly give them a pass for last year. There's a lot of things going on. It's just. I don't know. It takes a while to get everything you want, your system in place. And not only that, I mean, let's be honest, everything is overly scrutinized due to the fact that you're replacing the greatest there ever was, or at least, over the last 50 years. I mean, so with all that said, it's going to be interesting. They've got a tough schedule. I mean, it's going to be tough playing in the SEC, the games that they have, and going on the road to Athens, and we know a lot of teams are going to be improved in the SEC this year. So it's a tough task that they've got, but it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And TigerInsider.com will have all of not only the information, as his name suggests, a lot of inside information and insight, but also a lot of conversation from your forums as well. How do people sign on and be a part of it all, Rodney?
Yeah, Barry, I appreciate it. It's, TigerInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. You can get instant access with your credit card, or if you prefer, there is an address there to send a check. Gives you all our premium information. We previewed the offense, the defense, then we recapped. We got our first viewing period yesterday of practice. We had our on the hoof report, which a lot of our subscribers love our on the hoof report. We also had a recap of day one from the things we picked up in practice. So those types of things. And then also our all sports forum. That's our community there of Alabama fans. They were a little bit riled up last night, but there's a lot of stuff there on TigerInsider.com.
It certainly is. It's a go-to. You got to be a member, and it's highly recommended here with Longshore and McKnight. Hey, Rodney, thanks again for your time on this Thursday. We'll touch base next week.
All right, guys. Look forward to it. Take care.
Take care.
You, buddy. All right, Barry, take a quick break. When we return, it's the Phantoms Dog of the Day. We'll get into that. Several other things we're going to touch on. Bart Heish, our resident college basketball insider, will join us at the bottom of this hour.
Yep, the segment always with Rodney Orr, brought to you by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. They are ready to serve you. You can give them a call. Absolutely, they'd love to hear from you. Destin Connection Seafood Market. That phone number is
288-4272, or you can drop by 3750 Norman Bridge Road. The freshest seafood direct from the Gulf, arriving daily. I'm telling you, if it swims, if it's in the ocean, they've got it. I mean, that's the best way I can tell you. They got it. And it's the freshest. It's the tastiest. And I'm telling you, if you want them to cook it up for you, they can do that. Call ahead. They'll have your order ready for pickup, or you can just drive by, check it out in the showcases there at the Destin Connection Seafood Market.
Yes, it is our Thursday show in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. They're licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946.
Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry is an Alabama-based, family-owned and operated business that specializes in dry cleaning and laundry, serving the river region since 1941. There are 12 convenient locations across the river region. Find one close to you or call 481-1911 for free pickup and delivery. For 83 years, Central Alabama has trusted Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry. You should too.
Hey, in conjunction with Yellowhammer News, the Longshore and McKnight Tournament Bracket Challenge is fast approaching. It will begin Monday, March the 17th and run through Thursday, March the 20th. That's the window of time you will have to submit your picks at yellowhammernews.com. You'll see the tab on the home page, and you can be the big winner of a $1,000 travel voucher that'll take you anywhere on the planet. It's brought to you by the Montgomery Regional Airport, the Destin Connection Seafood Market, River Region Straw, and Phoenix Physical Therapy. The NCAA Men's Tournament Bracket Challenge in conjunction with Yellowhammer News. Be a part of it. You could be the big winner. It makes the tournament so much more exciting. Make sure you are a part of it.
Yes, also exciting, our Phantom Dog of the Day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Phantom comes up with a new one. Yesterday, the Phantom went to the association, as I recall.
Yeah, and watched the end of the Alabama-Florida game and then got ready for OKC, Oklahoma City, the Thunder at the Memphis Grizzlies in the association. Memphis catching 9 at home at the FedEx Arena, and it wasn't enough. OKC comes in, takes care of business, slaps them across the face. I mean, this, there again, I said it yesterday. If you're not going to cover, I hope you get blown out and embarrassed at home. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. So do I feel any better about it? Well, not really, because our ultimate goal is to cover the spread. It didn't happen last night. But in this game, you got to move on. You got to put it in the rearview mirror, because if you harp on it, it's not going to be good. So
This is how disappointing it was yesterday.
Oh, here
for
we go.
Oklahoma City, Isaiah Hartenstein had a double-double, 10 points and 15 rebounds.
Hartenstein? Who?
Isaiah Hartenstein is not an NBA player's name. John, he's your CPA.
Yeah.
Isaiah Hartenstein? I guess the Phantom didn't factor in the Hartenstein effect.
I did not. Bear, there's always that guy you're not expecting to show up on a particular night, and that happened to us last night. So,
yes,
are we a little tentative? Are we a little scared? No,
scared.
No, you can't be scared in this game.
Yeah, go play intramurals, brother. If you're scared, this is big boy stuff.
You got that right. So we're going back to the association.
Don't make money. I think those two guys in the the airplane seats with Barbara Billingsley trying to talk jive to them, I think they said something about that.
Yeah.
Scared money, don't make money.
Yeah.
And then they both, hit each other's fist.
Can't be scared.
Yeah.
You cannot be scared. I can't tell you how many times I've been pressing on a blackjack table or a dice table. If you win, I put a little on the side, and then I start stacking it. I start pressing. You go, ooh, man, I sure am pressed up high here. Why are you going to win? Well, you've taken a little and put it over here on the side, but you got to keep pressing.
Yeah,
we're moving on.
You got the guy over there on the dice table that's a little tentative. John looks over and says, "Scared?"
Yeah,
the guy
loser.
Says, yeah.
Yeah.
John says, first time? And he says, no, I've been scared lots of times.
Sucker. I mean, that's those guys, they scared. All right, so Barry, we're going back to the association tonight. Yeah, we are. And we're taking the Pelicans of New Orleans plus 4.5 at home against the Houston Rockets. Yeah. How about that?
The 17-45 New Orleans Pelicans.
Correct.
Don't be scared. Scared.
No.
17-45 don't matter.
Now, do you have their ATS record? Because I really don't care what they are straight up.
Yeah, that's just kind of some people just pay attention to how much they win and lose on the floor. That kind of stuff doesn't really factor into it at all. You're right.
Yeah. So we're taking the Pels catching 4.5 at home. This line has actually dropped a point since the number came out. A little money on the Pelicans. That's even before I made my pick. Houston coming in on a 2-game winning streak as they make the trip over to New Orleans. Not a very long trip for them at all, but just like the Pels catching the number at home tonight. Not expecting a huge, large crowd at Smoothie King, but the Pelicans are coming off a big win at Philadelphia. As a matter of fact, Barry, the Pelicans have been on the road their last 3, so they're coming home after a lengthy road trip of some sorts. So maybe the home crowd will be a factor tonight. So we're taking 4.5 and the Pelicans hosting the Rockets tonight in the NBA. That's the Phantom's daily dog today.
Tobias checks in on our live chat. He said, Phantom, I took Florida in the money line last night. Legalized sports betting in Alabama. Tobias.
Stay tuned, Tobias. That's all I can say. Stay tuned, Tobias. Look, I'll just tell you this. This is going to be a big issue in the coming months. I think you've been hearing me hint about it. Legalized sports wagering is going to be a big topic, a big talking point, a big political point in the next several months. And look, I'm for regulated sports wagering. There's a lot of unregulated sports wagering out there. I'm all for regulated sports wagering. There again, you know who's doing it. You know who's behind it. The state's making money off of it. There are a lot of other positive things about it. So just, Tobias, stay tuned on that one. All right. Also, I want to I don't know what this big deal is about not being able to go to scrimmages in Tuscaloosa and something called the Red Elephant Club. Barry, are you familiar with that?
The Red Elephant Club? Sounds like a silly. It sounds like a made-up name. The Red Elephant Club?
Is that real? But anyway, I guess that's some group that meets. Look.
Yeah.
What do you need to go to practice for? And let me tell you why they don't allow these organizations to go to practice anymore. Because people can't keep their phones in their pockets.
They can't.
And they're videoing and they're taking pictures. And they're doing
writing
all this
articles in newspapers about, we settled down to a sumptuous fish dinner.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the left tackle, they've actually got him playing right tackle, and they've moved somebody over, and the offensive line coach is going, why do we have these people here?
Yeah, and I'm surprised Saban let it go on as long as he did. When he got to town, this going to see these clubs all around the state, he said, forget it. I'm done. And instead of going to each individual one, he made them group and pool together. And he'd get like 3 or 4 of them and go, okay, y'all come together. I'm coming this town this year and this town that year and this town that year. But y'all are going to have to come to me. I'm not coming to you. So missing practice, you got to be kidding me. If you'd have kept your phone in your pocket, maybe you could still be watching practice. Yeah. But in terms of support, look, the athletic department's not making it off what some rah-rah group is donating. I can promise you that. It's the big money coming from the well-heeled donors that keeps them going. And they still want your $18 a month. Don't think they don't. But whining and crying because you can't go to a practice?
Well, I've got to cut John off here and go to break, because I do not want to hear him talking about that's big business. It's a business and their customers, but also because Bart Heish is standing by. Lord, do we have a lot of hoops to talk about with Bart when we continue. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar. Full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. Their licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. Okay, about 25 minutes to the top of the hour on this Thursday, and our man Bart Heish, our resident college basketball expert, joining us in conjunction with our good friends at Riverbank and Trust. Hey, Bart, how you doing today?
Here he is.
There he is.
Uh-oh.
Hit the mute button. Yeah,
Not hearing you.
I've had that happen to me before, and I don't hit the mute button.
Yep.
There we go.
Listen, I mean, I got chickens. I got dogs. I'm in Lochapoka, John.
Oh, awesome.
What?
In Lochapoka, Alabama. Beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, I love
Lochapoka. Right on Highway 14.
How many times have I spent in Lochapoka at the annual syrup sopping? Oh, man.
Exactly. You know about the syrup sop, Barry.
I know it. I've been right in the middle of it. And as a segue here, I mean, I've loved the syrup sopping over years in Lochapoka, but I would defy anybody to show me a man who was happier in America last week than Bart Heish was right in the middle of the high school tournament up in Birmingham.
Well, I feel like, I'll tell you this, though, for your listening audience. I feel like I've got bruises from the physicality of bumping up next to those Trinity Presbyterian girls. My goodness.
What
tough, an absolute domination of 4A, like Deschler-esque. I mean, congratulations to Coach Smith. That is a just great 3-year run. A lot of people don't know that Trinity moved up into 4A. Francie Morris and Maddie Smith, Maya Moskowitz. Shout out you three seniors and just that whole roster, because it was a special run, and it's not getting nearly enough credit around the state of Alabama.
I mean,
it was great.
3 years in a row.
Yeah, and it's to step up to 4A. You know, that type of statement. We've seen Kerry Ellison do that at times at Pisgah. But Barry, to your point, there's not. You know, people have asked me, and I'll kind of say this. Every year it's the same thing. There'll always be one a-hole that ain't watching the game that I say one thing good about the other team, and I get this Facebook post. He's put him on he's butt kissing. How did they put him a Hoover? Oh, crown him. My kid that's the closest thing I've got to a son is on the Florence staff, and some guy's shouting out about how I'm a Hoover homer. I mean, like, what do we do? Barry, I know you know what I'm talking about.
If your goal in life is universal popularity, don't get in this business, Bart.
But to watch and people always there was a big Alabama text train of guys that I knew, big Alabama bunch, and Providence Christian won their championship down around Dothan. Y'all's listening area probably too. And I nicknamed their star player because they were cooking up a championship. So I just named Pierce Boone the chef. And it kind of went, Troy needs to get down there and look at that kid too, Barry. That kid, I'm telling you, Pierce Boone, I'll say it publicly. That kid's a high schooler that after next year should be recruited. Anyway.
All right.
Watching all that, like to end all that, I feel like that when I don't ever want to go do ESPN or Fox, or because people are like, why are you not doing this? I think I'm talented enough to do that stuff. I know enough about basketball. At the same time, I'm not giving up the high school.
Yeah.
I'm not giving it up, man. I just that's the passion to me because I understand how hard they are to win because I never won one.
Let me ask you a question about a particular player. I'm not sure if you even saw this game. I'm sure you. I guess
I'm
you
sure I did.
The player from that played against MA in the state finals from Mars Hill Bible.
Oh, Pounders, Eli Pounders,
number 4.
Eli Pounders. I've trained him. That's my guy.
Broke his wrist or his hand?
Thumb.
Guys.
Shooting hand, thumb.
This kid,
Bo Kimball from the free throw line went 3 or 4.
Oh yeah, he just looking at him, I thought this kid doesn't look like a high school senior. I mean, he's built, he's chiseled. I mean, he can play, and then to come out there and play with a broken thumb and have to use his offhand, unbelievable.
And I did not have the 3A, but at the same time, I know Eli. I know his dad. Coach Pounders actually invited me up when he was at Wilson to work with Eli. Long torso kid, if that makes sense. He's just really long. And he's about 6'5", 6'6", but he can play the perimeter. He plays point guard for them. Mars Hill lost he and one of the Pig brothers, the youngest Pig brother, to a knee injury and still made this run all the way to the state finals and battled a Montgomery Academy team that everybody thought was, a big favorite in that game. But Pounders, that was the third game back. He missed I think it was a month, possibly January, and around that time. I mean, you can't play with a thumb. I couldn't play. I had a left-handed thumb that ruined my career on my offhand. This kid's playing with the thumb on his shooting hand. He had 4 points, and he started figuring out that he could really get to the rim in that left hand. He had 22 with
one hand
casted, and he would try to knock the ball and tip it, John, with the cast hand, try to get that little extra. But yeah, Eli's a great kid. I personally think he's a Division I player. He's got another year, if I'm not mistaken. But the basketball was great, and you gotta shout out R.C. Hatch again.
Uniontown,
most
Alabama.
State championships on the boys' side of anyone. Ain't no party like back-to-back, and 11 sounds great.
There you go. Bart, let's talk a little college. Everybody's looking forward to Saturday afternoon at Neville Arena. Both Auburn and Alabama go in that game with losses heading into this. Is this indicative of a trend? Is this indicative of weaknesses being exploited within both teams? So how do you read it?
I don't worry about Auburn. I did hear a good point yesterday on our show. I can't remember who the guest was that made it, that Auburn might have peaked too early. That's a thing sometimes when you see teams. I mean, I remember the year that Florida won their first national championship with Billy Donovan. They went through a stretch during the course. I mean, they went like 17-0, and they went through a stretch to where they lost a few games, or maybe it was the second year. I can't remember which year it was.
Right.
But Auburn was clicking on all. So Denver Jones being out is a complete difference. It's just like Wrightsville being out for Alabama. Those are the same type guy, if that makes sense. Denver Jones is a quiet leader of that team because just on the perimeter, he can play all the positions if needed to settle things down, get Auburn into what they need. He can come off ball screens, guarding ball screens. But I worry about Alabama a little bit. I think Alabama might need a little bit of momentum. Now, at the same time, I don't really think any coach is going to be that upset if they lose in the SEC tournament this year. Just after the gauntlet, extra rest this year. Saw what happened to Auburn last year, right? They go through that gauntlet of the SEC tournament. They win it. And then they lose in the first round where I don't know. Florida, same thing last year. Mark Wise was just talking about that on our show. So I worry about Alabama because Alabama is not long on the perimeter. I don't know if they can consistently make shots for 4 games. And I'm talking about to get to a Final Four.
Right.
Alabama can't protect the rim. And anytime they play teams with bigs like Florida, and there's not many teams with bigs like Florida. But I worry about Alabama. Just Auburn has linked on the perimeter. Auburn has linked in the post and can dominate you in both those aspects. I don't think Alabama can do that to people.
You know, Bart, I think Alabama's just got to have a favorable matchup because last night it was not one. And you mentioned it. They got killed on the boards.
Destroyed on the board.
Still having problems turning it over. And if the three's not hitting, they don't have an answer. And they're going to face teams in tournament play like the team they played last night. I've been saying it since November. I don't know when the improvement's coming. To me, it's a little late.
Well, I'll tell you where the improvement's coming. And the one thing, if I'm an Alabama fan, that I'm extremely excited about last night is that I saw LeBaron Filan get 13 shots and have 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. The minutes are coming. He played 25 minutes. It doesn't sound like a ton. That's got to get to 35. He's the difference, guys. He brings length on the perimeter defensively. He's the only one of those guards that can really guard. And last night he was, Florida's guards are old. Florida's guards are big. I mean, they're long. They're the only team in the SEC that Barry, how long has it been since you've seen only one team, maybe 2 teams really in the SEC play high-low? Nobody plays high-low anymore.
Nobody.
It's unbelievable. Florida does, and it translates. And when you got big guards that can also throw in, Florida has great post-feeding guards. Alabama doesn't have post-feeding guards, and they don't have a post. So, that's kind of the difference between those teams. But to me, again, guys, I think Filan has got to really play. He's got to get the minutes.
Well, he's no longer a freshman. I mean, technically he is, but, get him out there. All that being said, who wins Saturday afternoon at Neville Arena?
Auburn, big. I think it's a bad spot for Alabama. That place is very. You've been there.
It's intimidating.
I mean, they and the IBOB and Auburn obviously didn't beat Alabama in football. I mean, Auburn feels like, hey, we're coming. The GOAT's been gone more than a year now. We're gaining traction there in recruiting. Now we dominate and sweep our rival in basketball. I mean, if Auburn, I don't like the spot Auburn coming off that loss. Bruce is a genius at disrespect. And if you lose this game and if they play harder than you one possession out of this game, then that's not the Auburn creed, if you will, John, that we have. John, can you quote the Auburn creed?
I think I can. I really do. Yeah. Something about family and Weagle and
hard work.
There's some Micah in there. There's some Micah 6'8" in there for sure.
You better believe it. No doubt.
But I think Auburn showed, for real though, I think Auburn, we all poke fun at it. I got a piece of paper, but there's something to it. Auburn coming together, especially when it's against Alabama. Barry, I just think Auburn's better. I think they're better on the perimeter. I think they're better in the post, and I think Auburn wins. I mean, I don't know how big in this rivalry game it is, but I definitely like Auburn at home to close out the season coming off that loss.
So, Owen, we talked about it Monday. After Alabama loses at the buzzer against Tennessee, some questionable coaching. Nate Oates took ownership of it. But not only, 0-3 their last 3 games, because they're losing Saturday too. I agree. And then, what did we say earlier? They've lost 4 out of the last 6. It'll be 4 out of the last 7, something like that. How do you regroup to go to Nashville? Granted, they're getting the double bye, so they get a little extra time to prepare. But, mentally, the psyche of this team, how they finish down the stretch of the regular season, how do you change that?
Were we too early to crown Alabama as being the same this season? And I'll say it like this. Look at this schedule to open the SEC. Oklahoma, South Carolina. A&M on the road's an impressive win, but then you get beat at home against Ole Miss. You go to Kentucky and win. Kentucky can't guard anybody. They're worse than you are defensively. Vandy at home. LSU at home.
That's pretty bad. Well, they're as
pretty easy schedule. Alabama's schedule was easy. Is he easier? It wasn't easy.
Then why? How come the 3 of us sensed it early? Why are these talking heads on the national scene going, "Oh, number 1 seed"? Yeah, Bama's a number 1 seed. I'm thinking,
I saw it the Ole Miss game.
Yes, and I'm seeing what are they seeing that I'm not seeing? Because this does not look like a number one seed.
Well, and it like when I look at my Mississippi State Bulldogs, think about it from that standpoint: is we're trying to claw and claw and claw, and then we can't beat Alabama, and it's a bad matchup for us. And like so now we're like I think it goes in cycles, and it's about matchups. You know, you may hit two of the right matchup. You may hit two really good matchups. You know, obviously the 15, there'll be a 2, there'll be a 3. You think you're gonna find a good matchup there, but that second game, if you catch a good matchup, you're in the Sweet 16, man. And then you make shots in that Sweet 16 game. To me, it's about playing and winning in different ways, like Ole Miss did last night. Padula goes 3 for 11, has 7 points, and then Brakefield just goes off and scores in a million different ways. Like, how does that? I don't know what the ingredients are, other than the fact that if you can protect the rim, you're long on the perimeter defensively, you know, and you can collectively make shots and free throws, you know, that's a huge deal. And rebounding is something that we just keep seeing teams when they in these elite games. In these elite games, rebounding is always like, look what happened to Auburn another night on the board. You take away the rebounding away at A&M.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a difference. So I did see it early in the year, but I'm not saying Alabama's not a Sweet 16 team. I see some holes in there that would make it difficult for me to pick them in a Final Four, no matter what bracket right now.
Got about a minute or two. 4 teams finished at the top of the Sun Belt. South Alabama, which you called, Troy, Arkansas State, JMU. Who wins that tournament down in Pensacola?
I'm going to tell you somebody, Barry McKnight, that you need to keep an eye on down there. And I'm going over there in a couple of days is Texas State.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that when they came to Troy, because didn't they come to Troy and win? Like at the end of the game, they like flipped kind of the script for everything. They got good guards. They're physical. They can rebound. And they've been playing as well as anybody in the league.
From the stretch.
From the last probably 6 or 7 games. I do like South in a 2-game setting in a tournament, just simply because that zone, making people have to shoot against that zone in that place. You don't play zone anyway, but you're going to get it 40 minutes. And I really think that South's guards defensively take a lot out of people when they get in that 2-2-1. And then when South starts catching teams that have played 2 or 3 games, that most of these teams are not that deep.
Right.
I think that shows up in the fresher teams sometimes have an easier pass to the final. So I like South, but I'm not counting Troy out. You got the player of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, like the player of the year can carry a team, Conaway, easily. And you know how much I love Dowd. I think Dowd, when he really plays well, he always typically plays well defensively on the boards. But when he scores it and gets the free throw line and is active, he's the type guy who could give South some trouble on an interior of that zone, just catching and turning and scoring.
Barry, Bart, not only does Troy have the player of the year, they've got the broadcaster of the year as well.
Oh, yes, they do.
Oh, yeah. Hey, man, if it came down to broadcasting, we'd be undefeated. You know,
there's no question about it. I mean, are you going, Barry? You're going to be there.
Oh, yeah. I'll be there. Absolutely.
Off another summer. I'm coming probably, what's today? Thursday?
Yes.
I think I'm gonna roll over that way tomorrow.
Man, too.
If I can get out and if I can get through all this traffic in Lochapoka, then
yeah.
I seen an owl on the side of the road last night. Owl.
You got to stay away from those hay balers. You know,
make sure you don't get that syrup on your hands. The steering wheel can be sticky on your drive.
Love it, Bart. As always, we appreciate you, man. Thanks a bunch.
Y'all are the best.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bart. Man, our resident college basketball insider, Bart Heish. Man, we really appreciate the response we get, man. Our viewers and listeners love hearing from Bart every week.
Hey, listen, the Lochapoka syrup sop, and you guys Google that. That is a big deal. I remember when Jack was a little boy, they have this mule that turns around this grist mill, and you feed sugar cane in it, and that mule goes around all day. That mule is like, thank you for coming. Appreciate everybody. I'm doing this all day. What a life, man. Lochapoka syrup.
What a life. That is too good. I think we need to take a quick break. Yeah.
Wrap it up in just a moment. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball. And so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Welcome back in, everybody. Glad you're along with us here.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. All right.
That's kind of a sticky mute button there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I really love it when we get suggestions or well, just recommendations or just kind of a, hey, what about this?
Yeah. Love input.
And
we love input.
People said, man, when are you going to get our man John Talty back on with you? Don't worry. He's coming on next week.
I like that.
Yeah, he's awesome. And we're going to talk to Talty. Mike Griffith, he possibly could join us tomorrow. Griff's a busy man, but if we don't get him tomorrow, he'll be on with us next week as well. I know he's been up at the Combine checking all of that out. So we'll get that done. And, of course, next week, Senator Tommy Tuberville will join us. He was scheduled today. But, hey, the man's busy. He's
got subcommittees and hearings on this and all that. See, that's what's things great about being a politician. Not that he's not being honest, but if I was up there, man, I'd always have we had a special advanced meeting prior to the subcommittee meeting on inflationary practices. See, I would have been there except for that, you know. We have that. Tomorrow, we are on location.
We are.
Always.
I believe we're in Prattville tomorrow, are we? I just get my locations mixed up.
That's where I'm headed. So yeah.
You know, I don't know. Maybe we could do a show one day. I'm in Montgomery, you're in Prattville, or vice versa, and we can do them from both locations. What the heck? I hadn't really thought
one
about
of these days we may do it from down at the new Stivers location in Troy. Who knows? But
exactly.
But Prattville tomorrow, the preferred community, Cobbs Ford Road, Prattville, Alabama. That's Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on this Friday, where we will preview the end of the regular season in Southeastern Conference battle and basketball, and a little matchup on Saturday afternoon at Neville Arena. Chris and everybody, by the way, Theodis, I don't know, Gene Crane also is a busy man to have on.
I just saw that.
Well, yeah. But
we'll get Gene on.
There's virtually nobody that we've talked to on this show who thinks Alabama's got a chance on Saturday.
No, they're not winning, Barry. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what that number is from a point spread standpoint, but I'm more focused on the Pels catching 4.5 tonight, hosting the Rockets. More on that later. But I thought you were going to say, Barry, everybody's anticipating on their edge of their seat about our win total prediction. Our team tomorrow, just happens to be the Auburn Tigers.
We're doing it alphabetically. That's the third school alphabetically. We'll go Auburn, which – I'll go ahead and tell you the total posted by betonline.com. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I can just tell you it's familiar. Do they even research Do they even get all the Goombas in there with the silk suits and the oily hair? And they say, okay, what about Auburn? Oh, we all know about that. Anybody look into Auburn, their injuries? Who they got? Forget it.
I think somebody in the back of the room raises his hand and goes, hey, there's this guy there in Montgomery. He made some quote. They're a perennial. I won't give you the number.
Team, yeah.
They're a perennial blank and blank team.
Yeah.
So we'll get into Auburn tomorrow in our win total for 2025, doing it alphabetically. We've already done Alabama and Arkansas. Just for the record, Barry is on an under streak. The two teams that we profiled, he says they're going under their win total.
Both Alabama and Arkansas. Many, many thanks, as always, to our fine contributors and guests. Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com, Rodney Orr, TighterInsider.com, carved out some time. Always dynamic stuff from our resident basketball guru, Bart Heish. Love it, John.
Beautiful.
Love
it
those
is
guys.
Awesome. And Chris, I know what you're thinking. Extend the show another hour so the wheel is always on. We got to want you reaching and grabbing and wanting more.
That's right. It's our nefarious plan.
The wheel, I promise you, we will have the wheel tomorrow.
For our executive producer, Gurren Jr., for John Longshore, I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.